first review of the week. Let's start off with a doozy. Let's talk Suburbicon. And
Suburbicons.
Suburbicons.
Yeah.
Suburbicloon? Suburbicloon. Yeah. Anyway, so, right. I don't want to get into it without doing the plot first. So, okay, the general idea here is that Matt Damon is the head of a 1950s household. He has a young son, glamorous, gorgeous wife played by Julianne Moore. One night, they live in Suburbicon, the town, sort of mini town of the title, which is like the ultimate suburban paradise.
It's called Suburbicon.
Yeah, it's actually called Suburbicon.
Right.
They live in Suburbicon. And one night, the young son is woken up by his father and told, listen, there are men in the house, you need to come downstairs, they're going to take a few things and they're going to leave us alone. Now, things go wrong. The father is obviously in some form of debt to what appear to be mobsters. The wife dies in the process, and whilst the son is grieving with this, his mother's twin sister, also conveniently played by Julianne Moore, with a different haircut.
So you can tell.
Has moved in and basically assumes the position of being his mother. In the meanwhile, there's an insurance investigator played by Oscar Isaac who's sniffing around details, trying to find out what exactly has gone on. Questions arise with the local police about what he's reporting to be a home invasion. And, well, it's got the Coens involved, so you can kind of see where this is gonna go. Here's a clip.
Linda, no calls.
Sorry, Mr. Lodge, but I thought you might want this one. It's the police department.
I'll take it. Yes.
Mr. Lodge?
Yes.
This is Captain Gail Hightower. Right off the bat, I gotta tell you I'm sorry about your wife.
Thank you.
The other thing is, I got a couple of guys here I'd like you to look at. Stanford police picked them up last night and sent them down.
Because of your description.
They've been caught?
Now, don't get too anxious there, Mr. Lodge. Nobody's been caught unless you say they have.
Now, these are just two clowns picked up trying to kill each other.
Well, what do you want me to do?
Take a look at them. You know, if you'd be so kind and all.
So, Matt Damon there in relatively fine form. Now, this, on the surface of the marketing, I'll be really honest, I thought, oh, well, it looks intriguing. I bet you this goes the way of Burn after reading. And then you watch it, and the first thing you realise is, okay, George Clooney, directing again, he's got the goods. This is the kind of subject matter that Clooney does so well. Have you ever noticed that Clooney only seems to direct period pieces? He's got he's got a real fascination with 50s, 60s Americana.
Although what? I think the only modern one is The Ides of March.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but there's a very
kind of like nondescript.
Yeah, there's a very 50s, 60s aesthetic to his films, and obviously having it set in the height of suburbia really helps. What really ruins this, though, actually, is that there are two very conflicting films at work. So on the one hand, but here's the thing: you've got four writers on this. You've got the Coen brothers, George Clooney, and Grant Heslov. And they are presented to us on screen in two distinct lists, and it does kind of paint a picture that on the one hand, the Coen brothers have written a movie about Matt Damon and his family and this mobster plot and Oscar Isaac, etc., which plays as a Coen brothers movie. On the other hand, you have a movie about racism and integration in small-town America, which we keep cutting back to and from within the film. In fact, the film literally opens with it. For what seems like 10 minutes, we deal with this storyline before we even get to the other, what's actually the main story. And the problem is that's more interesting a one. And that's clearly the one Clooney is more bothered about. Yet, it's the B-plot. And it's really glaringly obvious all the way through this film that there are two sets of writers who've written two movies and they've simply woven them together without really much thought. You were so concerned about whether or not you should, whether or not you could, you never stopped to think about whether or not you should. And, there's a great cast in there, though. I mean, Matt Damon's going for that wonderful farcical style that we know he can do so well. Oscar Isaac, hamming it up in that mustache twirling way that only Oscar Isaac can. And also, how is he not one of the biggest stars in the world now?
I think he is, just it's under the radar.
He's the under the radar biggest star in the world.
Yeah, he's in arguably the biggest film franchise.
Yeah, he is.
Out there, obviously. And
I don't know where he is in the Avengers, but I'm kidding. Don't you get annoyed at me.
Give it time. I would not be shocked if he turns up in like
a Marvel movie.
I mean, in-house at Disney, isn't he?
I think he'd be a great villain. but you have to be an actual villain, though. Anyway,
Not Apocalypse.
Not Apocalypse. Julianne Moore, I think, does tremendous work here, but really, it's kind of an extension of the sort of what they were going for in Kingsman. Not what they actually did, what they were going for, which is that character who's really deeply rooted in the Americana of it all, who really rooted in the Cinerama appeal, that very polished diner veneer kind of thing. This is kind of the logical extension of that, but thankfully it doesn't remind you too much of Kingsman because the film isn't bad. Anyway,
The second Kingsman.
Kingsman 2, sorry. Noah Jupe, though, I quite like as the young male lead, young child lead. I think he's tremendous. I think he's really got something here. I like the film very much. I say I had issues with the conflicting storylines, but I think it's another solid film from director George Clooney, which apparently is going to be more the norm going forward now, because is he actually retiring from acting? Is that
I've not heard anything about this.
Oh, okay. Apparently he is dialing it down, because he does have $1 billion. So yeah, he does have $1 billion.
Like incredible wife.
Yeah, he's married to literally
twins,
the greatest woman on earth.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she is. I mean, if she looked like Roxanne McKee, I'd be head over heels in love with her.
I love that joke from a couple of years ago. He's been given like a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Golden Globes, and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler were like listing all of the achievements that she has done. I've been saying, and now we're here celebrating her husband.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
But what was the one they said about Gravity, though? It's like Gravity, a movie that finally confirms that George Clooney would rather jettison himself to his own death than spend time around a woman his own age.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can believe that. I love that movie so much. Seamus Warner Brothers.
On screen.